Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back for another episode of Wrestle Geek Podcast. This is our seventh, that's right, count 'em, seventh episode of the Wrestle Geek Podcast. And we're in good spirits this evening. I am your host, one of your hosts, Mitch, broadcasting straight to you from Long Island, New York. And I'm joined with, as always, my partner in crime, my left testicle, if you will. Rich, how's it going?
What's up, Mitch? How are you? I got some new equipment this week. Hopefully, I'll be coming to you guys from above water, not under the sea this time around.
Yes. And
nice and clear.
Also joining me this week, my right testicle. Ladies and gentlemen, Howie. What's up, Howie?
Hey, how's it going, Mitch? How's it going, Rich?
What's up, Howie?
It's all good. Everything is well here. Yep. I'm not ill, so that's good. I'm in fine health. I'm glad to be back once again for the 7th installment of the Wrestle Geek podcast.
And I'm happy you're back, And with that being said, just so everybody out there knows, since Howie is the right, Richie is the left, that makes me what? The dick in the middle. Oh yes. So just so you guys know. But yeah, good week. We had nice weather here in the United States in good old New York. Today was a beautiful day. Got a couple of outdoor errands done. Very nice. Very busy at our sponsor, Hastel Toy, and also Wrestling Figure Workshop is pumping them out too. And this week we will be getting our belts out going. So that's always a good thing. People will be very happy to receive their Intercontinental and Tag Team Hasbro belts. So
yeah, I'm glad they've made it to you. It didn't actually take that long this time. The postal service came through. I think it took about a week to get to you, and they're there in one piece. So I'm glad. And yeah, we can get them out to the fine people, and they can enjoy them as part of their wrestling figure collection.
Absolutely.
At long last.
Overall, we're getting good feedback from them, and they're looking amazing. And it's all thanks to Howie. So, Howie, thank you again. My hat's off to you, sir.
Thanks very much. I enjoy doing it. So it's
phenomenal job, sir.
So everybody's happy.
Absolutely. So we're gonna kick it off as always with our Monday Night Raw recap. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not seen this week's Raw, after listening to the podcast, we strongly recommend that you go back and view this week's Raw. I know you may not believe what you're hearing, our regular listeners, but yes, I am saying it. This week's Raw was phenomenal. It was a great Raw. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I definitely recommend everybody sees it after we spoil it for you if you haven't seen it. So, we start off Raw with the Elimination Chamber Gauntlet match. So everybody that's going to be in the Elimination Chamber, I believe, is this coming Sunday, participated in the Gauntlet match. Now, if you're not familiar what a Gauntlet match is, it's two people start, and then as the one person gets eliminated, the next person comes out, and they just keep running the gauntlet, so to speak, until there's one last man standing, which is it's a great concept. It kind of makes me it almost reminds me of like a King of the Ring where where they would have the matches, but there's just no break in the middle. And I miss that old King of the Ring brackets and things like that. That's something I feel like that's missing from wrestling today. What do you guys think?
Oh yeah, King of the Ring was one of the best pay-per-views that they had. One of the best tournaments they had. Just a lot of fun to watch. Bret Hart winning the inaugural one, you had Owen Hart winning the second one, and so forth. But if they ever decided to redo the pay-per-view, they needed a fill-in for that. King of the Ring would definitely be good for sure.
Absolutely, and I remember for even a while they started running it on Raw. Didn't they have Raw King of the Ring or something like that? They
did. They had like one special Raw during the summer, or whatever it was, whatever month they were deciding to do, and it was just pretty much the entire night was the King of the Ring tournament. And
take note, WWE, please, if anybody there is listening that has any kind of relation to WWE, this Raw was awesome because it had a gimmick match that took up nearly the entire show. And you know what? That could very easily be done with the King of the Ring type bracket. You know, they could do that in 3 hours. It's the length of a. I mean, granted, you have commercials in between, but the King of the Ring itself was like 2 hours, and they had other matches, and they could do that in one Raw. They could almost like a pay-per-view giveaway for a Monday night. You know what I'm saying? Howie, what do you think about that idea?
Yeah, completely. I was really thrown by the beginning of this Raw in the immediacy at which things got going. I'm so used to this kind of laborious format that we see pushed out every week, where usually they start with a lot of talking, which sets up stuff that's going to happen later on in the show, usually the main event. So with this one, it was like straight to the nitty gritty. Out comes like Roman Reigns. Here he is. A little bit of a chat, but we got straight into the match. So that was awesome. And like you say, yeah, like to have a whole show based around the importance of a match that lasted like 2 hours and had just loads of wrestling. You know, the format is so simple. Give people more wrestling. You know, for
which after all is what these people are paying for. They're using a hard-earned work money to go there and watch a wrestling match, not to see so many promos and so forth, backstage segments. We know that's part of the show, but they're there point blank to watch wrestling.
Yeah, and I mean the King of the Ring. I mean they used to. You go back in the day. You know, you think back to when we were little nippers, and you know the likes of Bret the Hitman Hart. I mean he became a superstar because of the King of the Ring. Yep. You know, you can really make stars from the King of the Ring. It can be terrible as well, but when it's done properly,
Mabel. Billy Gunn.
I imagine someone like Finn Balor could really benefit from the King of the Ring.
I'll never forget how awesome it was. And now you're speaking about, people from the UK region there, but how awesome was it when they had that revival of the King of the Ring and William Regal won and he started coming out with that throne again, and he would sit, and Layla was like his wench and she would come out with him. That was such a cool thing, man. And yes, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I had a thought, okay. And before I lost my thought, I wanted to just blurt it out, and I apologize. But definitely, as you say, I think Finn Balor would look cool with like a crown on his head or something like that. Like he would look like it would just look cool, and I agree with that 100%.
I think it'd be good for his gimmick because when he was in New Japan, he was Prince Devitt, and it'd sound cool if he became King Balor.
Yeah. The prince has become a king. They could even throw it in there.
And he's got that kind of fighting champion kind of thing about him. Think about what he was like in the Royal Rumble. He lasted ages. Yeah. And to see him kind of against he's the kind of guy that he could really he needs that kind of thing to put him and push him back to the top. And the King of the Ring was always a great way to launch people into the main event, like Mabel. Remember, because it was that's how they set up the program with Diesel with Kevin Nash, was by Mabel winning,
right?
And it actually gave Hitman validity. I mean, he had been Intercontinental Champion, but I think once he won the King of the Ring, that was part of his trajectory to World Championship status.
Well, just not even that, but just the jump start into the feud with Jerry the King Lawler was incredible.
Yeah, he had won it once already, didn't he?
My God, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he had won it once. Didn't he win it once before the King of the Ring? 90.
What, the Intercontinental title?
No, the world title. He won the world title in 92.
90. Actually, he beat Flair. He actually beat Flair at a live event on my birthday. I remember in October
92.
At a non-televised event. I forget the exact location, but he actually Flair tapped out to the sharpshooter
in 92 in Saskatoon.
It was there you go. It was in 1992 for sure.
Well, I apologize. My history was inaccurate on that one, but you get the gist.
I understand what you're saying. It definitely propelled him to the next level. Also,
propelled him. And who else was propelled well around that time? Let's think. I mean, Owen Hart.
Oh my God, the King of Hearts.
The King of Hearts.
What about Stone Cold Steve Austin?
Oh yes.
My God! What about Stone Cold Steve Austin? That's the greatest moment in King of Ring history.
Whip your ass.
That's incredible. I mean, yeah, the Austin 316 that changed.
That was the birth of it right there.
Changed the industry.
And then that propelled him into the next feud, I think it was with Bret Hart. Wasn't it right after that? Because he kept bashing Bret Hart, I think, right after the King of the Ring going forward. And then that's when it got into the Bret Hart came back. Because I think at the time, wasn't Bret Hart away for a while since after he lost the world title to Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 12? This was like in that off period. And that was the kind of feud they brought him back with, was like Austin kind of bashing Bret, and that's how Bret got back. And that feud alone put Austin on the map.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think we're all agreed that the King of the Ring was a great gimmick. I think they did in the later years when they did try it. I think they cheapened it a bit, and it didn't feel like it was used.
Well, not
correctly.
only that, but they started doing the preliminary matches on Raw, and then they would do like the semifinal rounds at the actual King of the Ring. So they were cutting out matches from the actual King of the Ring. I don't know if it was because they didn't want to put such a huge workload on the superstars, or
but that's the whole point of it, though. The whole point is to putting the workload on because they're busting their ass from the beginning of the pay-per-view, going 3 matches to get to the final to become King of the Ring.
Right.
It looks more legitimate.
And on that note, that's what they did to Seth Rollins last night, and it was phenomenal. And he, the first 2 matches he went over, and he
didn't hurt anyone.
No, thank God, because when he gave John Cena that knee to the face, I was like, oh, he just knocked out.
Oh, exactly.
He just knocked out.
I cringed.
He just knocked out 2 of his Vicosmiths, as Bobby Heenan would say.
On a side note, do you guys know that he actually set a record yesterday? Seth Rollins. He was in the ring for a straight hour and 5 minutes, which is the longest time a superstar has ever wrestled in a match in the 25-year history of Monday Night Raw.
And I gotta say, with that, not only was it an impressive length of time, but it was impressive all around. Like, there was no point where he was like sucking wind. And the man is in amazing, physical condition and cardiovascular condition, where he was not sucking wind at any point in that match. And there were hardly any rest holds where he was like, putting in a sleeper hold or putting in a Boston Crab or a leg lock. Like, there were, but they were not. It was like fast-paced matches all around. You know what I'm saying?
It was pay-per-view stuff, wasn't it?
Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Definitely pay-per-view caliber.
They really changed up the format of the show to the benefit and to their credit, and it was such a great showcase. It was a great showcase of the wrestling talent that they have, condensing it all into this spectacle match that wasn't boring in the slightest. Every facet of it, every part of it was different because you had obviously different competitors.
Yep.
But it was thoroughly entertaining from beginning to end.
And it was definitely entertaining, but I think the only time it got predictable, I think, is when Strowman entered the match because you knew Strowman was going to wind up squashing whoever he was in the match with. But before that point, with Reigns and Rollins, with Elias and him, with the match with him and Cena, how awesome was that match with Rollins and Cena yesterday?
Yeah,
it was amazing.
Oh my God!
So let's.
I love the bit where Rollins hit him with the attitude adjustment. He did his own version.
Well done.
Let's start from the beginning and then we'll go into.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. Yeah.
No, it's okay. It's fine. It's not the first time we've any of us has done this. But let's start.
We're getting overexcited over the gauntlet match.
Well, I'm telling you, it's a lot to be excited about. This match was awesome. So there's no reason any of us should be ashamed because it was actually entertaining and it was actually worth watching, in my opinion.
I was entertained and I'm not ashamed.
No, exactly, and that should be that's definitely our motif for this match. Absolutely. So let's start with the first match. It was Roman Reigns taking on Seth Rollins. That was the first match, right?
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken. And this match was exceptional. Okay, it was I don't know. I just like you've seen these guys fight before, and you go into it saying, "Oh, this is just going to be another match." Not to mention, I thought for sure Roman Reigns was going to win the match.
Same.
I agree.
And then look what happened. They surprised us yet again. Not only with a gauntlet match that, but also with the fact that Roman Reigns didn't win.
and not okay. That was one big factor. He didn't win the match. But I think, Howie, you touched upon this, I think, the last episode or one a couple before that, was how the match was won. It wasn't done with a finishing move. It was done by a simple roll-up.
Oh, yeah.
True.
That's
true.
too.
Yeah. Did allude to that, didn't we? Last time, I think in the
Yeah.
last podcast. It was a surprising finish. It wasn't just the obvious, and that works well in that format.
It was a roll up into reversal into another roll up, causing the pin. And it was like, wow, okay, people weren't expecting that.
And it's a good way to get Roman Reigns as well, because it's kind of like, it was a surprise, and he wasn't ready, kind of thing. So he still looks strong.
Exactly. He took the words right out.
Roman looks strong.
He still looks strong. Yep.
I'm sure Vince McMahon was happy about that.
Hoo-wah!
Make him look strong, damn it.
But what was more surprising though is the fact that when Cena comes out, I thought there's not a chance in hell that Seth was going to
win.
Cena.
Nope.
I thought there's no chance. So that,
no matter people love or hate Cena, one thing is for certain: no matter whenever Cena comes out and he gets into a match, he puts on a top quality show.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He does these days. It wasn't always like that. I mean, well, he always gave it 110%. It's just that his previous, you go back 10 years ago, his 110%, people didn't appreciate, what he could do. You remember, people would always say that he didn't have enough moves, or he, they'd criticize the way that he punches, things like that. Which actually sometimes one of my criticisms of Cena, he went through this little. I think it was around the time that he was feuding with Brock Lesnar. I'm just going to digress ever so slightly. But Cena did this thing where he would kind of try and make it look like he was an MMA fighter, like with his stance. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, yeah. And he does like the quick short jabs, I think you're talking about?
Yeah. He kind of like tries to do this thing where like he's kind of like, oh, look, I've got my dukes up and I'm kind of like, oh, yeah, I'm doing some jabs and I'm kind of like boxing a bit. And I'm like, no, you don't move naturally very well that way, John. Don't do that. It's just, if I was going to critique that, and his punches are often criticized as being not very good. But like you say, Rich, when he's so consistent, and I think what he does now is, for a guy that is pretty much a veteran, he is able to elevate other people's game as
oh, absolutely.
well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree totally. It looks so unnatural when he's punching like that. Like you're not an MMA fighter, John Cena. You know what I'm saying? Like you're a guy that's in phenomenal shape, and you're a really really good professional wrestler. But like you said, he's kind of like out of his realm with the whole like you said, when he puts his hands up like that. Like it doesn't look natural, like you said. So
it feels like his a last ditch attempt at being relevant.
Right.
He's kind of like, look, I'm down with it. I'm like an MMA fighter. I'm legit tough.
The only wrestler that actually has the ability to do that, obviously, than an MMA fighter that's in the industry, I gotta say, is the Undertaker. It's like he's kind of got a background with that, I guess, from being a fan of the sport. Right. So he can, he looks like he could throw down.
Yeah. When the Undertaker was doing that, yeah, absolutely. And then he started doing the triangle choke. That's one of his moves, the Hell's Gates or whatever he called it.
Yep.
So, but yeah,
and he moved well. It looked believable. But
right, exactly.
With John Cena, it doesn't look believable, and Triple H should just tell him to stop. Do you know what I mean? Just, when he comes to me, like.
By the way, how would that sound, Howie? Like, how does that sound?
I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can do it again.
How does that sound when Triple H does that?
Maybe I should start by saying that the key line was, it's best for business. And then just be like, John, come here. Be like, you gotta stop. You gotta stop doing that whole MMA thing. It does not working for you, do the knuckle shuffle thing. Keep that going, but anything else, no, that it's bad for business.
And if that doesn't work, you can kick his leg out of his leg. Woo! So Seth Rollins.
But what happened? I mean, what happened to John Cena then? He was felled. He was felled by Seth, wasn't he?
Yeah, he did the. He even threw in his own attitude adjustment on John Cena, which I thought was ridiculous. It was. I
marked out for that.
So awesome, dude. It was such a good match. These guys put in 110%, in my opinion, and Yeah, so that was that match, and then again Seth Rollins, like you said, he won fair and square, which I thought was great. Curb stomp, or the stomp as they call it now. I'm just happy he's using it again because I thought that was cool and unique. You know, I wasn't feeling the pedigree as his move.
No, not at all.
So and then it was Seth Rollins versus Elias Sampson, and it was another good match. And Elias went over, rightfully so. I mean, the man already went through 2 grueling matches, so it went. He definitely proved himself yesterday if he hadn't done it before. Seth Rollins, and Elias wins with the finish. What do you guys think? I mean, you agree with that? What they've done here, or?
Yeah, so far I thought it was on point. He surprised everybody with Rollins not only beating Roman Reigns but beating Cena. You know, they're Superman in a way. You know, you can never take down Cena, and he did it in convincing fashion. And then obviously, like you establish that Rollins is back as a main event player. You know, having these two big matches. You know, and going over in both of them. And then what you do is you take somebody who you just raised their game up to a main event status again, and you bring Elias. Then you defeat that guy, and then you have his status again. So it was a matter of elevation for all these superstars going in.
Right. And it was really good. It was actually done. It was well done, you know. And I don't mean the tag team.
It flowed.
The 90s. It was well done.
It really just flowed. You know,
it was good booking, wasn't it? I mean, this is what we often are moaning about is we're trying to make sense of the decisions that are being made, but it was benefiting the decisions that of course Seth didn't win the whole thing, but it made sense that he went out when he did. He's human,
right?
And right. He was, but like you said, Rich just said it asserted him after a guy who's been kind of floundering, but operating as a tag team,
right?
A member of a tag team, for a while, and he's been in the tag division. As a way of kind of re-establishing him back at that level, to put him over 2 of the 2 big names in the roster, Roman Reigns and John Cena, is the perfect way to do it, and to really set him alight again and get him burning, and it makes you think, okay, yeah, this guy's got a fighting chance in the Elimination Chamber, and going forward, who knows, maybe WrestleMania, because that's
I'm still calling a triple threat match for the main event. It's gonna be Reigns, Rollins, and Lesnar. I'm calling that now.
That'd be good. That'd be strong.
I would prefer a 1-on-1 match, to be honest.
Oh, I would too. But I mean, if you look at in past years, they've gone away from the conventional 1-on-1 for whoever's won the Royal Rumble, or getting their shot, to now it's making a triple threat match or make it a fatal 4 match. Like, they make it into something else, which I do think definitely takes away from the WrestleMania main event. But it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. Now that you've said that, I think, Shinsuke Nakamura won the Royal Rumble. He's gonna, at this point, it'd be AJ Styles that he's facing in the main of, will it be the main event of WrestleMania? Would it be the last match? It would make sense that if Shinsuke Nakamura won the Royal Rumble, that he should get that opportunity to be in the last match. But I've got a feeling that it wouldn't be, and that it is, and that the Universal title is now seen as being the more important.
Which I really don't think it is. The WWE World Heavyweight Championship is the top title, not this Universal title. It's another gimmick title. You know what I mean? Just to put main event championship on a show. But on a different side note, to kind of segue out of this for a second, did you guys hear that after WrestleMania, starting with Backlash, all the pay-per-views are going to be dual brands? They're not doing single brands anymore for pay-per-views.
Oh, so they're already weaseling their way back to combining the brands.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
That didn't last long.
So what it's really not. I don't think it's really working that well. I mean, you can see what
it was a stupid idea to begin with. To be honest with you,
yeah.
They did it before. It failed. They did it again. Obviously, it's not working again. It's a method for failure.
The reason they did it in the beginning was because they had an overpopulated roster. Now I don't feel like they have that many superstars. It doesn't need to be this way. You know what I mean?
No, they should be like the old days. You have one world champion, you have the Intercontinental champion, you have your set of tag team champions. You have your women's championship, and I would love to see an introduction of the women's tag team championship, because there's enough women on the roster now so they can actually establish that, I think.
Absolutely. I think that would be great. That's a great idea, But again, I would only like to see that if they had one brand. You know what I'm saying? I don't think we need two.
It's so stupid. I'm not a fan of the dual brands at all. It's just have one brand, WWE. You have your champion on both shows. You have more competition that way. You don't know what's going on. As far as who's going to be the top contenders and stuff. It adds a lot more value to the product.
I always felt historically I didn't like it when they did the brand split the first time. Like you say, I think it's very, very difficult to create enough superstars and to genuinely get them over that it creates enough structure for both brands and enough interest that keeps everybody looking to both brands and thinking, oh, there's a lot going on here and a lot going on here, and I enjoyed both products equally. I actually thought this time they had more of a chance because of the NXT being the breeding ground for new talent that were really getting over, and then you could push them in and use them effectively. But as we've seen, they're not really using NXT talent effectively. They're getting them over.
No.
I mean, not in every sense. Obviously, people like Shinsuke Nakamura, who were coming in with a great kind of background and already were very, very popular international stars, obviously and rightfully have gone into key positions in the main roster. But people like Ty Dillinger, we were talking about him before we went on air, so to speak.
Over in NXT. What have they done with him now? Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, you've got people who potentially can become stars, and you can really pad out your roster and really make them into something. But I don't think they've successfully done that.
Look at this superstar, for instance, Hideo Itami, one of the biggest international stars in Japan is Kenta, and they have him sitting in 205 Live. Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
He's been hard done by, hasn't he? Right. I mean, he's the one that originally came up with the go to sleep, the finishing move. Yep. Okay, you know what I mean? I see CM Punk was using. Let's put it now. Obviously, I think was it outlawed now since he broke somebody's jawbone with it or something like that recently, or was that just rumor? He was in a match. I forget who he was wrestling on, whatever superstar it was, but I think they got injured. They got an orbital bone broke or a jawbone broke or something like that from it.
Who was this?
This is maybe like a month ago. I think I could be wrong as far as timeline goes, but I think whoever he took on, the last person he used the move on actually had facial injuries from it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
No. Let's see. Hold on.
He's had a Hideo Itami. I mean, it feels I think Mitch. You said about Seth Rollins earlier. Said I think you used the term floundering. Hideo Itami truly is the flounderer in that he. I mean, incredibly talented, and as Kenta in Japan, and then, I mean, it seemed like he was in NXT forever. Every time he started building up any momentum, there was the catastrophic injury that he had, and then he was at WrestleMania. I think he was involved in the Battle Royal. All of these things, and then now, like you say, it's not really come to much with him being on 205 Live, but we'll see. Hopefully he can get a good
I have an update on the information I was giving you guys. It was actually Brian Kendrick that it happened to. It was actually back at the end of December before the new year, and he broke his nose and his orbital bone with the move.
Oh my god! Yeah, of course, 'cause Kendrick's injured. He's injured, isn't he? So that would be it. Yeah, I saw this thing the other day actually on Instagram. Somebody posted a picture where it was like the curse of the cruiserweight title, and all of these guys who have held the title.
They should have never changed his name to begin with,
They've departed, They've all kind of gone. Like who was it? Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, all the guys who have held the cruiserweight title recently, they've all kind of fizzled out. They're not there. No one's really truly gotten over and stayed there.
Well, I mean, one positive with 205 Live is that now Triple H has got full control of it. Vince McMahon handed it over to Triple H, so maybe he can kind of revitalize it a little bit going forward. He can bring more substance to the brand.
Yeah.
And honestly, what they really should do is do you really need a full show just for cruiserweights? I mean, no. When it was in WCW, the cruiserweight division was one of the best things to see. You would see on Nitro, you would see on Thunder, you see on WCW Saturday Night. There was a phenomenal matches. Implant, you have a 3-hour show. Implant 1 and 2 cruiserweight matches with some high profile, design to it, or even have the title defended. I mean, you look back at great cruiserweight champions like Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho. You look at it now, it's like it's so far between.
It was like you say. I mean, in WCW, it was the tonic to the repetitivity. Is it repetitiveness? That's the word I'm after. Of the NWO gimmick at the time, because obviously they were just like that was. It was exciting at the time. Obviously, NWO. I was a big mark for all that.
Absolutely.
But in the end, they did kind of just like hammer it until there was just nothing left, and they weren't very creative with doing new things with the NWO gimmick. But what saved the show was these incredibly competitive matches from the cruiserweights. And at that time, say like what was it, 1996? I had never seen matches like that before.
Oh no!
You know, when I was
because I never
was
really
a teenager.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
You had Dean Malenko versus Rey Mysterio. Those were some of the greatest matches.
Oh my God!
Eddie Guerrero versus Dean Malenko. Eddie Guerrero versus those three right there. And then you had of course Juventud Guerrera, and you had all those guys.
Psychosis.
Even Chavo Guerrero was good.
Yeah.
What did he have? Pepe. What was the name of that horse that he used to come out with?
Oh yeah.
Pepe.
Yeah. That was cool. All right. So then Elias goes over on Rollins, and then Balor comes out, and it wasn't. I mean, Balor versus Elias was an okay match. It wasn't bad. It just seemed like it was slightly rushed, and I think they were trying to get through it. But then Finn Balor wins the match with the coup de grace. And then the Miz comes out and like kind of jumps him. Because of the other two distract him or whatever, they start coming out, but he jumps in through the crowd. And then Miz goes over on Balor after the distractions. That's what they used to make the Irishman look strong. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I'm kind of caught in between on this one. It's I understand like you want to put Miz defeating Balor. But at the same time, I think when you're constantly needing people to distract Miz's opponent in the match is kind of taking a little bit away from the Miz, as good as he is on the mic and in the ring. I mean, it might be part of the gimmick, but I mean, he's a 9-time, was it 8-time, 9-time Intercontinental Champion now that he is? You know what I mean?
It's definitely multi-time.
It's like
I don't know. I don't know what it is at this point, but it's definitely 7 or 8.
Does he really need to have like an outside distraction, or should he just be like the Intercontinental Champion that he is, that it's so established that he can actually go in and defeat somebody as good as Finn Balor?
Yeah, but too, it's to make him look like a heel too. Like Ric Flair really didn't
exactly.
Need to,
that's what I'm saying. Like it's kind of like it's a 50-50 situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like it's a
like
catch-22
with the low blows and the stuff like that.
Right.
Like Steven Regal, one of the toughest men in the business. They had him doing like the brass knucks at one time. Remember that? Like
that was awesome.
He even had the T-shirt and everything.
Yeah, true.
So I mean, I don't really hold them like I understand where you're coming from too. Like he should be able to get a win without having to cheat or whatever. But it's also part of the whole experience as far as.
Of course, the whole heel thing. He's got his entourage. What else can they do other than interfere in the match and help him gain a victory? Right. It kind of goes back. It kind of goes back to the old school mentality of wrestling back in the late '80s, early '90s, and stuff like that when you had that going on. So
absolutely. It is a very old school way of.
It's very nostalgic in a sense.
And that's what makes it cool too. For
True.
us at least.
It's entertaining. Yeah.
Like
it is. It really is.
The youngsters might not look at it like the same way we do, but they definitely.
So
it's definitely cool.
And I'm actually very happy though for the simple fact for Bo Dallas and for Curtis Axel, because before they got into this Miz Siraj storyline with the Miz, they were really kind of lost in the shuffle as well.
They were also floundering, but
you know severely. What I mean? It's like come on, you have, and this is both second and third generation superstars,
right?
You know what I mean? It's like come on,
and not to mention Curtis Axel is a former Intercontinental Champion too.
Yeah,
don't forget,
Yeah.
And wasn't he also with Paul Heyman for a little while too?
He was.
Like
he was.
Yeah. And then they dropped that quickly because Brock Lesnar came, and that was the end of that whole thing. But I think that was good for Cesaro too. Like I was just watching that thing last night with the. It's like the photo something or another, photo shoot or something, and they show them pictures of like stuff they've done throughout their career, and
that's right. Cesaro was a Paul Heyman guy for a while.
Yep, and they show him with Paul Heyman and stuff, and I thought that was a cool thing for him because Cesaro he had at the time I think he's gotten better, but he was having trouble like saying things in the English language, so it was good for somebody like him to have a mouthpiece. You know what I'm saying? So
Oh yeah, for sure.
But, yeah. So that was that, and then Howie, you have anything to add on the for those matches?
So where was it? We had Mike was in the ring. He beat Finn Balor.
Right.
And he was a sneaky heel, which kind of does suit his stature. Like you say, it's old school booking. It does suit his stature because he's not the most imposing. I'm sure if I stood next to him, I'd be like, actually, Mike, you're quite built. But when I see him on screen compared to some of the other guys, you think, he's not quite as big. So it kind of works in his favor to have that kind of, he's got the distractions and the low blows and a poke to the eye or something, a la Ric Flair.
Right.
So that works for him. I did notice once he had eliminated Finn Balor, obviously we got Braun, the entrance of the Strowman. And obviously it became conclusive. It was decimation. But I did notice something that stood out to me. I think it was the first time I saw the Miz's finisher done on Braun Strowman.
That was pretty funny.
And
when he did it, I was like, no way.
It was. Sometimes I think
he hit the skull crushing finale on Braun Strowman.
I think the skull crushing finale, when he executes it, sometimes it looks a little bit limp. Do you know what I mean?
It does.
He's not.
It's funny because when Jeff Jarrett did it, it felt like it was more imposing.
Conviction.
Yeah,
you want like he doesn't like quite grab him into the full Nelson and like swing him back and jam him into the floor. It almost seems like a little bit too like he kind of runs up next to them, caresses them in a kind of full Nelson like manner, and they kind of dive onto the floor and he dives with them. It doesn't feel like he's executing the move on them to smash their flipping brain out. That's what I want to like. Okay, a move like that done with conviction, like you say, Jeff Jarrett with the stroke, even like when Bret Hart, one of the most boring moves in the world was the Russian leg sweep. But when Bret Hart does it, it's done with such conviction.
It was like full whiplash. You would see like the guy like a complete snap back. It's like, oh my god, like he's bouncing off the mat. That's gotta hurt.
In the modern day, I don't think I see anyone these days doing a Russian leg sweep. But actually, when Bret Hart did it, it was wicked. And it was done with conviction, or so. But my point is, when he did it on Braun Strowman, it didn't really look believable. It was like this. He was just like he just kind of brushed up next to him, and Braun kind of just like fell to the floor for him. It didn't look like I don't know. Maybe he should have like dived into the back of his knee first or something so he was like and take out one of his legs, and then it knocks him down a peg, so he's kind of like on a lower level. Then grab him.
I agree with that. I was literally just thinking that.
It just looked a little bit contrived.
Right, because the height difference alone makes it difficult to perform the move like that as it is. Because Strowman's such a big guy, but if you take him down, like chop him out, not one of the knees out, and then it's almost like you do like one of those DDTs, for instance, like like if they're on their knees already, and you get like more impact, it would have been like he's halfway down already. The momentum from Miz using his full body weight from standing totally up, putting Strowman down makes the move look a lot more convincing.
Yeah, and so that was probably one thing that I noticed with that, because he did get a bit of offense in against Braun, and I was surprised to see that he got his finisher in.
And that goes back to another superstar being elevated against another guy who's strong at the moment. So every single superstar that was in a match during that gauntlet match, each one of them were raised up as far as the strength value and how their personality was for the match going forward into an elimination chamber. They all look unbeatable. They all have characteristics that stand out. It's like would you ever imagine before the show started? Okay, the Miz put Strowman into the skull crushing finale. Would you imagine Elias hitting his finishing move and pinning Seth Rollins easily 1, 2, 3? You know what I mean?
Way.
It's like
that's why it was so great too, because like you said, it was things that you didn't think would happen.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, going forward, each superstar now looks so strong going into the match. There's really we kind of figured Roman Reigns is probably be the guy coming out of it in a wrong one, but now with such great performances with that one great match we had, through succession of the night with the gauntlet match, each guy looks legitimate enough that they can actually take it to the very end. So nobody really looks weak in that entire matchup. I mean, would you guys agree?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, agreed.
So,
You know, and the one thing I will say though, you know, the big thing's going to be how Strowman's going to get eliminated from the match. I'm going to predict right now, and Mitch, I discussed it with you earlier.
mm-hmm.
Also, they're all gonna gang up on Strowman, and when they go to pin him, they're gonna actually pile up on one another, and that's how they're gonna keep him down.
Yep, and you said they're gonna like they do like one of those football pileups on him.
Exactly. Yeah, pretty much. That's the way they're gonna keep him down. That's the only way they're gonna be able to eliminate him.
That's we call that a bundle, a schoolyard bundle. Like when I was at school when I was a kid, if somebody hit the deck in the playground, as we called it, if somebody shouted bundle, like bundle, that generally, as in bundle, as that generally meant that everyone's going to bundle on top of you, and every youngster nearby would run to bundle on top of you. So you had to run for your life if you hit the deck and heard someone shout bundle. Yeah, you ran. And so from what I imagine, that's what they'll do to Braun Strowman. As soon as he goes down, someone like the Miz will go bundle, and they'll all jump on top of him and pin him that way. That would be quite funny, actually. I think that'd be a real comical moment.
I think it would be good too, and they can make like a, it'll be a serious moment, but it'll also be kind of like you said, it'll be amusing also. So
yeah, but then once after he gets pinned, Strowman will just literally destroy everybody in the match and leave like a full wreckage before he leaves the ring.
Yeah, so that way he looks strong.
Exactly.
Always.
Yeah.
So Braun Strowman wins ultimately, obviously, over the Miz. And then there was a little bit after. What was it? The Asuka did an interview and she got jumped by Nia Jax.
Yep.
And then so that was pretty self-explanatory. Nia Jax
didn't they then cut to like a they did it again like what they did at the Royal Rumble. They cut to an advert, a promo for Ronda Rousey afterwards. Sort of like saying, at an Elimination Chamber, she's signing the contract.
Ronda Rousey, yeah, did like a whole promo video with her training and stuff, and it's just like, yeah. All right, whatever, we get it. Ronda Rousey's here.
So once again, the female Royal Rumble winner being overshadowed by Ronda Rousey again. Keep doing it.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and this is what's angering people, and they keep doing it. So, and then it was the Bar once again versus Titus Worldwide. It's just what everybody wanted to see. I don't know, and they actually won Titus Worldwide. They went over on these two here.
Isn't that like the third time? Something like that. They've done it a few times now, haven't they? Gone over the bar.
I think it's like their fourth or fifth match, and it's like the third time that the Titus Worldwide's beaten them. It's like,
what's the point?
It's like, all right, come on.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, they need to do something with that now, don't they? It needs to be like, okay, the Titus Worldwide are now going to progress forward from that point. Okay, proven. You've I guess it's going to set up for them to put the titles on the line, and then I don't think they should win the tag team titles. That's my feeling on that. I don't know.
Well, who's really left in the tag team division over there now, since Jordan is out injured with the neck surgery and Rollins is now in the main event picture with the Elimination Chamber? What are the tag teams really left on Raw? What, Slater and Rhino?
Oh, good point. Good point. They need the Authors of Pain to come up and destroy everybody.
That would be a welcome sight. That would be a welcome sight.
We've got some great tag teams coming up through NXT.
What about Gallows and Anderson? Give them a shot. Run with the tag titles.
Yeah, damn it, they're good. They're popular.
I got one better. How about the Revival?
Yeah, do it.
Make it happen. The last two teams I just named are way better than Titus Worldwide.
Absolutely.
Really? Do I need to?
They're probably going to do it though. You know they're going to do it. Let's face it. If they're saying that Titus O'Neil and Apollo, they're now booking him just as Apollo. They're getting rid of the cruise bit. If they're doing this thing where they keep defeating them, surely it's got to culminate with them getting a victory.
Yeah. Do
for the
you
title,
know?
and-
Do you know the story though behind why they got rid of the Cruz name?
No.
So it's actually a very sad story. Obviously, it's a reflection to the shooting in Florida, in the school shooting. So
Really?
first, like say, us all here at the Wrestle Geek podcast, our thoughts and prayers with all the families and all the loved ones and stuff that were affected by the tragedy.
Yeah, my God.
Stay strong and just progress forward, as best as we possibly can. But the reason they got rid of the last name Cruz was the shooter's last name was Cruz, C-R-U-Z, and they kind of felt a little bit of similarity in saying. So one, they were in Florida to begin with. That was number one. That was the first thing yesterday. And two, Vince made the call himself that he felt he didn't have any close association to ending with that last name. So that's why they decided to drop the last name and just leave it as Apollo.
Yeah. Wow. My God, I
Yeah.
didn't realize it had
Yeah.
such ramifications.
Yeah.
Yeah, but his
That's
what I don't
incredible.
understand is his name. His name. I mean, it sounds like Cruz, but it's not really spelled that way. So, and his first name was not the same either. So, I mean, I guess they have right to do whatever they want, but I just obviously I don't know. I feel like they had to do what they felt was right, but in the same sense, it's like, did they really think that people? Did they really think that people were going to be offended because this guy had a name that sounded the same as the other guy's name? Like, I don't know.
You got to figure nowadays also everything is the social media, everything is a lot more sensitivity going on out in the world now. So they're trying to avoid that, I guess, in a way,
Yeah, I mean, I can understand it. They're always scrutinized for everything, so I guess it makes sense, But it's gotta be there's gotta be a point where and again that was a terrible tragedy,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
I can only imagine as a parent myself, how these parents feel, but I guess like you said that they had to do what they thought was right, and they didn't want to have to feel any backlash or anything,
Right.
It's it's terrifying stuff. What a awful thing to happen.
Absolutely.
But I think the name Apollo, I think by itself, it is fine and it's adequate. And I think maybe they see that because Titus O'Neil is very much a company guy, isn't he? He's very much kind of a
they love him. He's like an ambassador almost for them.
Just don't touch Vince. Whatever you do, just don't touch Vince.
Oh man, that was terrible.
Yeah.
Ambassador for the company, and so maybe it's his reward to put a title on him and sort of go, here we go, this is for being a good guy. And I don't know. This is a terrible one. But I was thinking, how before we were comparing, like we were saying in Roman Reigns, if his gimmick was back in 1995, he would have possibly have been like a gardener or something because it was his yard now, or he would have been a dog because he is literally the big dog. With Titus O'Neil, I was thinking that he could be tight ass O'Neil in that he's like I don't know if because if somebody's a bit like selfish with their money, like it's a term, isn't it, that they're a tight ass, and so. It's almost like a dad joke, this, isn't it? It's like something your dad would say at Christmas over the bloody dinner table, and no one laughs. But it's like, he's just, I don't know. That
his nickname could have been Tight Ass Titus O'Neil, Double T. That would have been his nickname back in the day. Yo, Double T, and you're walking into the room.
Yeah, they're just like, can you lend me $5? And it's just like, no way, man. Oh, you really are a tight ass. Do you know? I don't know. That's how I think about these things, because everything was so literal. What is Titus O'Neil's gimmick? He doesn't really have a gimmick. You think gimmicks these days can be so kind of I don't know, they can be kind of abstract, or they're non-entities, really.
I guess what is he like? He's a promotional. Is it like a Don King kind of like Scott Boras agent, like in baseball and stuff? Kind of like, I think it's like a kind of a cross like that, or is he like what was the character in Rocky V at
Washington Duke?
Don King type thing?
Yeah. I can't believe his character's name is actually
George Washington Duke was his name.
Thank you very much. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot that.
I mean, don't you think again, it's a bit like how they've done this thing, where we were talking about the other week, how they called the Miz's henchman the Miztourage, and it's very specific to the Miz, and in that respect, it means that it's very limiting, and it'd be better if they were called the Entourage, because then it can take on its own life, like
eventually
the Acolytes became APA or something.
Right, exactly.
So maybe that's with Titus World, by calling their tag team Titus Worldwide, it's kind of very favoring Titus, not Apollo, very much. And it's kind of, for me, that would be like a really good way that eventually, like, Apollo
breaks away
and ditches Titus.
Well, that's probably what's going to eventually wind up happening. Eventually,
that'd be good. But Titus, he's inspirational. He's not a tight ass with his time. He's very giving. He's a very giving man.
His last name yet?
O'Neill. Yeah, they could just call him. Yeah, so you got Apollo and Titus.
Yeah, sounds like.
I mean, that's quite a good. It's a good pairing, isn't it? Titus and Apollo.
It's a disease. Apollo Titus.
Apollo. Oh god, terrible.
We're gonna infect the entire World Wrestling Entertainment.
Very bad case of Apollotitis.
But all right, and then the last match was a 6-woman tag match. We have the women finishing off Raw once again, which I'm not opposed to. It's actually pretty cool. All the women did great in this match.
I think Mandy Rose was great in this one.
Oh, she's always great in whatever she does.
She did a really cool move in this. She did it was like a sidewalk slam.
Yeah.
And then flipped them backwards from it. I thought that was really awesome. And
she's impressive.
I like the way she moves. It was great.
Oh, we're sorry, Mom. So Mickey James, Sasha Banks, and Bayley versus Alexa Bliss, Sonya Deville, and Mandy Rose. That's right. So in the end, we have I believe what do you call? Sasha Banks wins, right? Doesn't she make she makes
Alexa Bliss tap. Yep.
Alexa Bliss tap out, and it made it like, oh, so now, in the on Sunday anything can happen, even though I have a feeling that Alexa's still gonna walk out the champion. That's my my prediction. But what do you guys think? It was a good match, but it was hard to follow. For once, it was hard for the women to follow the men's matches because they were so damn good.
Yeah.
So.
It kind of felt like it feels like they've just been doing a lot of kind of tag matches with with women recently, and they're not really kind of building meaningful. We've criticized this, I think, last week, week after week. We're saying they're not really building anything meaningful. They're just kind of having these cluster fudge matches where they're just kind of chucking them all in there, and it's great because we are getting to see some pretty competitive matches. I think the most interesting development in some respects was the Mickey James Alexa Bliss pairing.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That kind of culminated at the end. They're quite a cool kind of duo. Alexa Bliss, I did notice with her entrance, there's just something about the presentation of her as an individual, everything about the package, the way she looks, moves, the kind of faces she pulls are very, very good, and that's important in wrestling because it's an element of communication. But her entrance, the music, everything kind of gels so well with her. It really stands out, I feel, like when you get all these good women competitors coming out, female competitors. Yeah, I can see why they've handpicked her to be the champion so long, because she just kind of, I think, oozes kind of class and magnetism. That's a really polite way of saying I fancy her, I guess. But but good match overall.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Like I said, it was hard to follow those other matches because they were so damn good. But,
they held their own though. I mean, it was good. Yeah.
But it was a very firm Raw overall, and that's the end. That's the end of Raw. So
it may even be quite historical, like Rich already said. Records were broken. We had Seth Rollins in the ring longer. We had real all the competitors in that. It was a gimmick match that one single match became the focal point of the entire show, and it completely blew apart the normal script, the normal blueprint of the Raw show, which has become monotonous and predictable and boring. And this was brilliant. And like you said at the very, very beginning, we want more of it. King of the Ring. There's so much there's so much scope they can do, and it gives them so much more creativity to give us good, exciting wrestling programming.
For once.
Yeah, Jesus, it's not hard. We just want to see some wrestling.
Yeah. Oh, sports entertainment. Sorry, Vince.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
I'm surprised they haven't started calling the ring a slam zone rather than a ring.
It's not really a ring, folks. It's a stage. So.
Do you know what I mean? Just it's like, oh, he's in the ring. I mean the slam zone. Look at the wrestlers. Superstars.
And on a serious note, when was the last time we actually heard them refer to the ring as the squared circle?
No, they don't say that anymore.
They don't say it anymore.
No. I'm just wait for it. Slam zone's coming. All right.
So, but yeah, solid Raw overall, and that was the end. All right, once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Wrestle Geek podcast. This will be our special segment for this evening, and we are joined alongside by a special guest. Some of you Hastel followers may know him as Lombardeaux, but his real name is John, and he's a very creative, very talented young man, and we're happy to have him on the podcast. What's up, John?
How you doing, buddy? Thanks for having me on.
Of course. We're happy to have you. Of course, joined alongside by Rich, as always.
What's going on, guys? How are you?
And Howie, all the way from the United Kingdom. What's going on?
Hello again. How's it going?
Not too bad. Not too bad. I just wanted to get the intros done. So Hall of Fame season is on us, and it's exciting for a lot of us, older wrestling fans that have been around the block a few times with different incarnations of WWE, if you will. And so this week we kind of got a slight bombshell, which I didn't think a lot of people saw coming, at least not directly. But Jeff Jarrett getting inducted into the Hall of Fame was prompting us for our discussion this week, which is people that are not in the Hall of Fame that we would like to see inducted in the Hall of Fame. Now, just to kind of kickstart that, Jeff Jarrett, Rich, give us your thoughts on Jeff Jarrett being in the Hall of Fame.
Surprised, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, as a lot of us were. Maybe not overthrown with surprise, but surprised nonetheless. And I say that because other people that have graced us with their presence in the Hall of Fame that may or may not have, we never imagined them coming into the Hall of Fame have been inducted. So, such as the Ultimate Warrior, such as Bruno Sammartino, people that have basically washed their hands of WWE and, were able to be convinced to come back to accept the honor of being in the Hall of Fame. Howie, what are your thoughts on Jeff Jarrett being inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I found out through my friend Tom. He told me during the week that it was kind of before it was announced. He told me it was a rumor. I guess, I can understand surprised, but I do think it's deserved. Clearly contributed to the wrestling industry. He's from a wrestling family. So I think with the kind of his being the founder of TNA, that aside. I think that's kind of the only thing that really makes you think, wow, okay, the founder of a kind of a rival company. But I think he's very deserving. I think he's held many titles, had a very, very storied career. He was a world champion, held the WCW title, controversially, I guess. But no, I'm happy that he's going into the Hall of Fame, and hopefully we'll get to hear that song again. I can't wait to be alone with my baby tonight. That one,
the infamous Full Metal the album song. That was actually sung by the Road Dogg.
This is true.
But we're joined alongside by our special guest this evening, and he may feel a little bit differently.
A little different, yeah.
Yeah, so let's hear it, John. I know you've been holding it in.
Yeah, easily my least favorite wrestler of all time, Jeff Jarrett, hands down my least favorite. Like, and I don't mean like least favorite, like, oh, I can't stand this guy. I mean, like, I would stop watching wrestling while he was on TV. Like, I just could not stand the sight of him.
He was like, I got to take a leak. This guy sucks. That was
yeah, it was no entertainment value whatsoever. I feel like the guy just broke like 1,000 guitars and never drew $1.
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't like the guy at all. And I think the only time I ever showed any interest in him was when Jim Cornette brought him in for that NWA resurgence in the WWF. And
that was pretty cool.
I think it was only because of the NWA aesthetic to it. And Jarrett looked somewhat different. He didn't look like every other WWF character.
He was wearing, yeah.
Yeah, he was wearing that weird outfit and stuff. And
came out on the horse.
Right, but I hated him when he was Double J, JEFF, that whole thing. I couldn't stand that gimmick. And in WCW, I felt like when they brought him in, when Vince Russo took over, the second time they brought him in, I just felt like completely deflated. Like, oh my God, this is what we're subjected to now. But if you think about it, he is he's the only person who's ever been part of the NWO, the Bullet Club, and the Four Horsemen.
Right.
That you could say he's been in all four of those groups at one point or another. Probably the worst incarnations of two of those groups, but whatever. I just didn't like him. Not a big fan. And I think the most surprising part of it, like Hallie said, is the distancing of himself from the WWF in recent years. For the WWE to bring him in at this point, I think that's all the shock value. I'm not really shocked that they're putting him in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he did spend a lot of time in WWE, but
they're definitely the ones that made him into a household name. That's for sure.
I don't think. I actually don't think there's that many people who are like a really big Jeff Jarrett fan. He never was that guy. I mean, I've got to say, my favorite Jeff Jarrett moment, if I was going to pick one, which does sound like a difficult thing to do, but he had a fantastic match with Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, for the Intercontinental title.
Yeah, I think it was In Your House. It was in 1995. I think it was In Your House 1 or 2. Absolute. I have
to agree with that.
Blinder of a match. One of my favorite matches. It was a real surprise. I remember at the time when I was a kid watching it, thinking this is a great match.
Didn't Shawn Michaels win the Intercontinental title off of him? Wasn't Jarrett was going in, right? And he had the blue tights on.
Michaels was wearing the blue tights with the
he had that beard. He had that beard on his the beard he was growing in. Because I remember that was right around the time when they used a lot of that footage in the Tell Me a Lie video, didn't they, or something like that? Like, didn't they? It's one of those iconic that we were talking about last week.
Yeah, that's the same thing. That's probably one of my favorite Jarrett matches, hands down. And I'm not a huge Michaels fan either. But,
and rightfully so, though. That was a great match. So
right,
definitely was.
I always remember in that one as well. Shawn Michaels took an absolutely crazy bump in that one. He kind of takes he does like a forward flip over the turnbuckle from the corner, from the inside of the ring, over, completely forward flipping out, and then takes a bump flat on his back onto the outside. Mm-hmm. He just flips straight over. Absolute crazy bump. Haven't seen that since, but probably hurt an awful lot. But yeah, that's probably the only real. Well, there's a few. I could go on, but that's a good match.
I remember because I was a kid, obviously. We all were actually when Jeff Jarrett first came, and he had the whole JEFF, haha, JARRETT. And he did the whole thing, and he was like the Music City guy or whatever. And you could tell the man had a lot of talent. Like he was definitely a good worker. To me, it kind of felt like he was in the WWF at the time. I felt like he kind of got stuck in that mid card. Range. I can't really remember many times where he fought for the actual world title, or if any. I can't remember.
I don't recall him ever competing for the world title. I mean, I'm sure he had at some point or another.
Right. But... even if it was at a house show or something like that, Right. But he was definitely, he's definitely linked with the IC belt. I'd say, like you said, it was kind of cool when he came back as the. There's all the great WWF superstars, and then there's me. And then he had the music, the new music and everything with the NWA and all that stuff. Right. But I think really, really kind of like, where he redefined himself was when he came back as the "Don't Piss Me Off" Jeff Jarrett with the guitar and everything like
The
that.
slap nuts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he started doing. He switched off from the figure four and he started doing the slapjack that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And
Wasn't the slapjack still the was still the stroke, right?
yeah, the stroke. But then I think he
Yeah, but
changed,
he renamed
he changed
it
the
to
name and
slapjack or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that was cool. He cut his hair. He changed. He was able to reinvent himself. And like I said, I wasn't the hugest Jeff Jarrett fan either. I did like, and don't be surprised if he brings up Owen Hart's name in the Hall of Fame induction.
He
Because
absolutely will.
yeah, they were actually very, very close friends. And I thought they were great as a tag team. And Owen Hart, that was like his last incarnation. I mean, other than the Blue Blazer, which was I hated that they did that to him, which was, unfortunately, I felt was it was like a direct link to the Jarrett thing because they wanted them to do that affair angle where he was sleeping with Deborah and she was cheating on Jarrett with him, and that was going to lead to a feud between Jarrett and Owen. And then that's when he kind of like refused to do it, and then they stuck him back with the Blue Blazer gimmick. That's kind of like a punishment, from what I heard, like because he didn't want to go along with what they said.
He didn't want,
Yeah, because he was like a family
that's
man
a whole
or whatever.
other subject. Yeah, that's a whole other subject.
But
I don't,
Yeah, but the whole thing was, that was cool. What I was getting at was that was really cool. Like with the, he changed his outfit. Like Owen Hart had the OH outfit with like the silver and red, and it kind of like matched. It matched Jeff Jarrett's outfit. That was pretty cool. They made a good. They were tag team champions. It made them.
Probably the best outfit since the New Foundation.
Yeah.
With those baggy pants.
Oh God. Yeah. That was a joke. I was actually just watching something the other day on the network. I was trying to partake in some of the Coliseum home video tapes that they had uploaded, which was kind of pretty cool.
I haven't had a chance to check that out yet.
Yeah, I was telling Richie about it yesterday. I was watching the Big Boss Man versus Razor Ramon, which was a match that you never really saw.
You actually sent me a screenshot of that as you were watching. Like this match is awesome.
Yeah, Razor Ramon went over. He cheated. He like because he was still a heel, obviously. He rolled. He did like how you call it, like almost like a cradle, and then he put his foot on the ropes and he cheated. That's how he won. But that was a cool match. It's something I'd never seen before. So, but in any case, so Owen Hart, he'll definitely come up in that, which can kind of segue us into our topic. I'll go first. I think Owen Hart should definitely be in the Hall of Fame. The fact that he's not in the Hall of Fame is kind of an insult. But I know a lot of it has to do with his wife or ex-wife or widowed wife or whatever you want to call her.
Right.
And I feel like, out of respect to her, they're not doing it. But they were able to somehow make a DVD of him. So I don't understand. I don't understand how they can't somehow get her to
I think it'll come in time.
Yeah, but it seems like it's taken too long, and I feel like he should, he should be inducted. And I think Bret Hart should, obviously do the induction. Well, he's still around, God forbid. And, maybe the family can accept it for him. But what do you guys think? Rich, Owen Hart?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. You kidding me? He should have been inducted into the Hall of Fame not too long after his death, unfortunately.
Yep. Yeah, but I think that was still too fresh then. Like, there was no way they could have gotten around it then,
Right.
It was such a shock.
Yeah. I think now they have a little bit more, they say time heals all wounds, It'll never completely heal, I think, but I feel that as time goes on, like the doors open a little bit more, as the years go on, So, what do you think, Howie?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, he should go into the Hall of Fame. It's such a shame that his career is not able to be celebrated in the fullest way that it should be. Like Lombardo says, maybe in time it's something that we will see, and fingers crossed it will be something that comes to fruition sooner rather than later. But I absolutely would love to see Owen.
I think it will happen eventually. I really do.
He did so much. He had so many great matches, and was such a great kind of character. And just have so many fond memories kind of growing up watching his stuff. And I got to see him live as well when I was a kid. And it'd be great. It'd be great to see his career acknowledged and his life also kind of celebrated. It would allow the fans as well to have kind of a proper kind of closure and a celebration as well for to the memory of Owen Hart.
Agreed. All right, so since you're the guest, John, let's go with you next. Let's you give your who do you think should be in the Hall of Fame?
I think there's probably a lot of guys that are deserving, but I think for me personally, I'd like to see. I would say Bam Bam Bigelow, but I feel like he's going to be going in this year. I had read somewhere that he is, but I'm going to go with Big Van Vader without a doubt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm with you 100% on that. Vader, one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. Period. Definitely, in my opinion, the greatest big man of all time.
Yeah, he's up there with them.
400 pounds that could do a legit moonsault off the top rope.
Mm-hmm.
Could talk a great trash talker, but also could back it up and make it look real. I mean, a lot of the time it was real. But
absolute monster. I mean, just on his feud with Cactus Jack alone in WCW.
Awesome. Absolutely.
I mean, I talked to so many people who just got in there. I mean, I've been watching wrestling since I was 8. That was in 1988.
Yeah.
So, for me, like, my introduction to Vader was when he made his debut at the Great American Bash against Tom Zink. And, from that point on, I was just like, oh, my God, I was so intrigued by this guy and the helmet and the smoke and just, everything about him was just so, he was just so different and so unique. And, like, you didn't understand what was the gimmick, but I think the gimmick was he was just a monster.
That was it.
And I mean, he was
larger
a real
than life.
man. And he was just, he could, whip anybody. He was unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Rich?
Oh, Vader definitely deserves to be into the Hall of Fame. Absolutely. One of those guys that goes into the category that should have won the WWE title.
Oh, absolutely.
But never did. But that's a whole other story. But his WCW days, he had unbelievable matches.
Yeah.
I agree.
Tremendous.
And Howie, I already know how you feel about this.
Yeah, big. I'm a big Van Vader fan. That's a lot to say.
That 10 times fast. Oh yeah.
Yeah, just I always enjoyed watching him squash people. Just he had great matches from New Japan, great matches in WCW, WWF. Always enjoyed his powerbomb. Like there's that footage of him practically snapping a guy in half.
Oh, he really did break that guy's neck, though. One of them.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely crazy. Just and just I think when I first saw him when I was a kid, he was. I actually found him quite scary as well, which is that's good. That's entertainment. It was kind of thrilling.
A legitimate beast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think as I got a bit older in my teens and things like that, and I think he had kind of gone to the WWF at that point. I enjoyed that part of his career as well, and I got to see him live as well once in London, and it was great, very memorable.
Mm-hmm.
He was against Bret Hart actually in a house show. It was a great match.
Yeah, that must have been tremendous.
What was it when they were trying to turn Vader into a face, and Bret Hart was Montreal, Bret Hart, Canada?
It was actually it's actually mentioned in Bret Hart's autobiography, his book, because it was actually the before Vader had truly debuted in the WWF. It was kind of like a dark match, and it was the first time Bret had ever wrestled Vader. It was at the London Arena, I think, in 1996, and he mentions it. Bret mentions it in his book because he remembers, obviously, him being, he was a fairly the term they use, don't they, is that he was a fairly stiff wrestler.
Right.
But not only that, but he also remembers that he smelt quite bad. and he learned that it was because Vader, unlike many of the other wrestlers who he'd ever wrestled, wouldn't wash his singlet. He would use it, and just once it was done, he'd put it in his bag and then use it the next night. And that was an observation from Bret the Hitman Hart on his first ever match, which I was actually very lucky to be able to see.
Wow, that's awesome.
But Vader, absolutely would really, really love to see that guy going to the Hall of Fame, and I think he's got health problems as well.
Yeah,
so I feel like hopefully time isn't going to run out.
Later.
We can see that. Yeah.
Another thing about Vader too is he's one of those few wrestlers who could go anywhere he went and still just be Vader. You didn't have to change Vader. Like, I think Sid Vicious might be the only other wrestler like that who could draw money anywhere he went, just being the character that he was.
Yep.
You didn't have to change Vader.
Yeah.
From what I heard on Jim Cornette's podcast or one of his interviews, was that they did want to change his name. Vince McMahon wanted to change his name.
He wanted to change him to the Mastodon.
The Mastodon, yeah. And Jim Cornette was like the one that spoke out against it and was like, you can't change his name. Like, he's world known as Vader. Like, you can't change his name to call him the Mastodon, but you can't change his name like to the Mastodon. Make his nick, so that's what.
Which is a great tagline. Great tagline.
Absolutely,
the Mastodon. That's great.
And it was unique too. I mean, and I feel. It was that would have really hurt him if they. I mean, they already did a terrible job, handling him when he was there. But on top of that, it would have been even worse.
There's nothing that makes me madder than seeing Shawn Michaels kick him in the head during that SummerSlam match.
Oh man, when he
goes to drop that elbow and he doesn't follow through and tells him to get up.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate it. I mean, it makes me angry as a Vader fan. Like, how dare you?
Yeah. And it's just I guess supposedly Shawn Michaels was in a different place then. So, well, at least what they say. So,
right.
It's a shame. But yeah, I definitely was rooting for Vader, especially after he powerbombed him and he had him pinned, and then the referee was out, and then it took the other referee a ton of time, and then he wound up beating him with a regular moonsault, like on Shawn Michaels. Whatever. It's all good. Yeah, it's there's nothing we can do about it now, but that was definitely Vader was definitely a missed opportunity by WWE. Should have definitely. He should have.
It's definitely their loss.
Yeah, and it was it definitely was Shawn Michaels' fault. For that. So, but all right. Who are we up to? We got to do Howie. Let's do Howie next.
Okay. Okay. My pick for the Hall of Fame is going to be the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith.
That's a good one.
Also, I think I can't actually decide myself. I know that I want Davey Boy to go in because obviously he was a fantastic wrestler. His contribution with that fantastic match with Brett at SummerSlam 1992. But also, I actually think the British Bulldogs, the tag team, should go in as well with Tom Billington, Dynamite Kid. So I think maybe that would be a better vehicle. Would be to have the British Bulldogs go in and have them both as part of the Hall of Fame.
Right, because he's still alive. Also, if he really wanted to, he could accept the award. I know he's sickly. Also,
that's true.
I heard he can't actually speak anymore.
Is that right?
Wow.
I'd heard something to that effect that his health declined so much he can't even speak at this point.
I know didn't he write a book a few years back too, or something like that?
I think he did. Yeah, I think he did.
He's also wheelchair bound now, isn't he? If I heard correctly.
But that he could still get around that to do an acceptance.
Yeah.
I just but if he can't talk, then what's the?
I don't know. I mean, you can't hold me to that. I don't know that it's a fact. I had read something to that effect.
Well, some research, but I definitely agree. Davey Boy Smith should definitely be in one way or another. It would be great to see him inducted as a singles competitor also. But I wouldn't mind seeing the British Bulldogs in there either. That's like a twofer right there.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Rich? What do you think? You think British Bulldog for sure, right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, there's not even a doubt in my mind he belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and how is he not in the Hall of Fame? I don't understand. Yeah. Like, what's holding him back? Like, I don't think Diana Smith is holding it back. Whatever the story is there, So,
no, I wouldn't say so either.
But all right, Rich, what do you think? We saved the best for last, Richie.
I got a couple. I actually got a couple. I got one wrestling, one non-wrestler. So which is a little bit out of the park. But wrestlers wise, I would say the tag team of the Steiner brothers.
Oh man,
absolutely.
Yeah.
They both had good. Scott more of a singles career after with Rick, but they both of them had unbelievable matches as far as the tag teams go.
They're still going to go down as one of the greatest tag teams.
Of course,
absolutely. Yeah.
So, and my kind of out of left field kind of pick for a Hall of Fame. What if we put Jim Johnston, the creator of all
the music,
creator of all the themes for the past 35 years that gave everybody their personalities and what grabbed the fans' attention to put him into the Hall of Fame.
They just
I
recently
agree
released him,
100%.
I think.
Yeah, he just recently got released here.
Yeah.
I heard it was on good terms though. It wasn't like.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And
He wasn't full. I think he wasn't fully doing the themes anymore since 2012. That new CFO Money was doing it. As far as I know, like since 2012, he was kind of collaborating with them, but they kind of like eased him like out of the door. But like you said, guy said it was on good terms. But I think it would be a fitting ending for his career in WWE. Like for 35 years, putting all the themes together for all
Absolutely.
the superstars.
He defined.
Capital for the Hall of Fame ring. I think that would be a perfect closure to his career there.
That would be great.
Yeah, that's a good call. That was a great call, actually.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was. That's why I said save the best for last. You see. But yeah, they all deserve. And does anybody else have any like random?
I have one.
Go ahead, Howie.
I think because for gender equality, I'm going to suggest a female. It's just a woman. I think, unless I'm mistaken, she might already be in there. But I think Miss Elizabeth should be in the Hall of Fame.
She's not.
She's not in there.
She's not in the Hall of Fame?
No, she's not.
Wow.
She was the first. Realistically, she was the first woman to make waves in WWF.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Her and Sherry, I would think, are the first two. Really.
And Sherry's already
Sherry.
in there.
Sherry's in.
Yeah.
And Sherry's already in though. Yeah.
Yeah. She accepted right before she died. I think she died like 2 years later or a year later.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. It was not long after she got inducted that she passed away.
That was a very weird time for wrestlers passing away too.
Yeah.
Oh my God, 2007 was brutal.
Oof. Yeah.
I think he had like Mike Awesome, Bam Bam Bigelow, everybody like right in a row.
Yeah. It was a bad year.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was a good run of the mill there, boys. It was good. Good talk.
I think is Sid Vicious not in there?
He's not in there yet either.
No, he's not in either.
No, they're discriminating against guys with power bombs. I think.
I don't know. He should
It's because
be
they
in there.
banned the move, haven't they? They don't let anyone do it, so they don't want to have any history of good
Not the
guys.
best worker, but oh my God, so intense.
Yeah.
Super intense.
What? And another one just came to mind is what about the Honky Tonk Man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
I can't
True.
stand him though. Oh my God.
I don't think anyone can
Southern
stand it.
wrestlers, man. I don't know what it is, but man, Honky Tonk Man.
I don't think he's anyone's favorite wrestler.
No,
I think John
I've
just
seen him at like meet and greets, and I like shy away from him. I think he was sitting with Greg Valentine. I walked over, I shook Greg Valentine's hand, and I walked right by the Honky Tonk Man. I said, "No way." Terrible.
Yeah, but that was a good talk. See, boys, that was a nice segment right there. We got it out, and thank you everybody for listening once again, and we look forward to seeing everybody again. Hopefully next week if you listen to us. And John, thanks for coming aboard, man. It was a pleasure to have you.
Anytime. I had a blast.
So, and also it's to remind our listeners that to check out Hastel Toy, as well as Wrestling Figure Workshop for awesome stuff. And
also don't forget Lombardeaux
and Lombardeaux as well. Absolutely. Those amazing sketches.
The Wrestling Figure Workshop, those belts are without a doubt the coolest thing I've seen so far, without a doubt.